This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 159 of the Healthy Critters Radio on the Horse Radio Network. Healthy Critters Radio is brought to you by Biostar US. Find them online at biostarus.com.
On today's show, we share what we have learned from taking care of senior animals. Critter of the show is raising backyard chickens. In Critter Nutrition, we focus on the brain-gut connection. And in Coffee Klatch, we review a book about an octopus. Listen in. I'm Tigger.
And I'm Patty.
And I'm Coach Jen. Welcome back. Tigger is back from the big vacation. The whole gang is here. Everybody's units are working. Yay!
Yay! It's a miracle.
It's a miracle of miracles. And we're so happy that Tigger is back because Tigger had herself a little walkabout since we spoke
A little
last.
vacay.
A little vacay.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Tigger, before we got started this evening, said, and I quote, "I will be happy to initiate the chit chat." So she has things to say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sit down. Sit back. Listen. Okay.
So I've lived in Virginia, I think, for 37 years. And throughout most of the 37 years, I've heard people say about how beautiful the Outer Banks of North Carolina are. So I finally decided I would go to the Outer Banks, and I really needed some ocean time. And so I rented a little house just north of Corolla, which is on the northern part of the Outer Banks. And it was in an area known as the 4x4 beach. And the 4x4 beach means you can only reach it with a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive vehicle. And that alone, I had so many like mini heart moments climbing these dunes in my Subaru that was supposed to be sort of a road. And luckily, being a New Englander, I'm used to getting stuck in places. So I managed to get to the house and sort of go, okay, I'm not leaving for 4 days. Yay.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good. And I had packed all my food, and I didn't realize, I realized, but I didn't realize how incredibly popular the Outer Banks are.
Oh.
Because there was an amazing amount of people.
Uh-oh.
And because this is such a remote area, the way people get to it is by joining these tours. And these tours are these Humvees or big trucks, or there's a number of tour companies, because this is where the wild horses are. And so there's a constant flow of people going by the house on their way to see the horses. And that wasn't really what I had in mind. So my idea of this, really quiet, remote beach time was not exactly how it looked in my head.
Uh-huh.
But I did see the wild horses twice. A little band of 3, 1 stallion, 2 mares, 1 mare pregnant. And they came by twice. And the second time they came, they spent some time. And so I was really, for an hour, I was able to really observe them. And so you can't get within 50 feet of the wild horses. But from the convenience of the balcony of the beach house, I was able to observe them right across the street. And what really struck me, it was a really good reminder of they eat, they move, 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 they eat. It was a reminder to me how it's not just that the horses need to eat 20 hours a day. They need to eat and they need to move around.
Ding, 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 ding.
Mm-hmm.
So I thank the horses for reminding me of that. And okay, so the funny, not funny part of my vacation was when I was leaving, which was at 7:00 in the morning because I knew there'd be a lot of traffic. And Saturday, all these families moved in to the area for the week. And it was like the arrival of lemmings. I've never seen so many people in my whole life. And there's kids and they're screaming with joy, not pain. And, in the evening, the men are out there barbecuing and the sound reverberates throughout the dunes. And so it's amplified. And it's like, oh, whoa. It's quieter at my farm than it is on the beach.
Oh, boy.
So anyway, 7:00, I'm all packed, ready, get in the car, turn the car around so I could be headed out the driveway. And I come down the driveway and immediately I get stuck. I'm stuck at 7:00 in the morning on a Sunday morning. And there's no sign of any of my neighbors being awake. And I'm thinking, okay, do I call 911? Do I call a wrecker? And then this truck showed up. And the young guy, he's on his way to work. He said, oh, no problem. Do you have a shovel? I said, yeah, I've been shoveling it out. I said, well, you don't need to shovel out the tires. You need to shovel out underneath the car because the clearance wasn't high enough for the Subaru. Oh. Because of all the traffic, it had made the ruts deeper so that when I had driven in on Wednesday, the ruts weren't that deep. So the Subaru didn't bottom out. But because of the traffic, now it was deep. The Subaru just didn't have the clearance. So he, moves it all. He gets in it. He gets it going. He stops. I get in. He said, you should be fine. I put my foot on the accelerator and I move about 2 feet and I'm stuck again. Oh. So luckily I had a tow strap, which the owner of the house had advised me to have a shovel and a tow strap. So he brought his truck around. We hooked up the tow strap. He towed me out into a flat area that was really compacted. So, no problem. By now, my stress and anxiety level, because I have to drive 3.7 miles back to the pavement, is at an all-time high. If I get stuck again, this guy's going to work, and I still have another dune I have to go over and then down to even get to the beach. I said, if I give you some money, will you take me back to pavement?
No.
And he said, sure. So we get back to the pavement. What you have to do when you go onto the beach, you have to take the air down in your tires, right? So my tires are at 32 and to go on the beach, you should be at 20 to 25. He said his truck was at 15. Wow. So then you got to air up, right? Now you got to put air back in the tires. So I said, where do I go? He said, oh, any place. So I'm driving along and I see this convenience store and I see this air tank and I go, okay, perfect. I pull in, I grab the hose, I go to my front tire, I unscrew it, I press the nozzle in, I press down on the handle of the air hose, and it sounds like air is coming out. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I go to the back tire and it's doing the same thing. I said, okay. So I go back and I hang up the air hose on the pump and I walk around to the front of the pump and said, insert 50 cents.
Oh,
Yeah. So
Now you got to find 2 quarters.
which I didn't have.
Of course.
So I
no.
put in, no, I had 1 quarter and I had 2, dimes and a nickel. And so I put that in, nothing happened.
No, it only takes quarters.
And so, yeah, exactly. So I went in and, then I had bought this gauge on Amazon, and it was a pretty fancy. I mean, it had big numbers on it. And I thought, oh, that's way better than those skinny little stick things. Well, that thing was the worst gauge ever because it wasn't anywhere near accurate. It changed. You could put it on, it would give you a number. You take it off, you put it back on, it would give you a totally different number. So I had to go back in and buy another tire gauge. But I finally got that all done. Okay, we're ready to roll. And I hit traffic at, it was by now 8:00 in the morning, bumper to bumper. And I'm like, okay, I've had a relatively relaxing 4 days. And now I'm as tight as a tick.
Yeah, so do you need a vacation?
Yes, you need a vacation from your
I do.
vacation. That's exactly right.
I do. But it was great to see the wild horses because having grown up reading Misty of Chincoteague, I always wanted to see them. And it was great to be able to spend, a good hour watching them and, being reminded of movement is just as important as eating.
That's very interesting. Whenever now the new stable that Nigel and Scooter live at now, there's really no grass to speak of, which is good for Scooter because really Scooter shouldn't be having much grass. He's a little fat pony. So I take them out and hand graze them pretty much every day. And that's very interesting that you point that out because you see grooms everywhere hand grazing horses.
Yeah.
And it's always a battle because the horse wants to wander all over the place and the groom's going, no, just stand still and eat. And I've noticed that whenever I take them out, they don't go straight for the grass. They have to walk around for a good 5 minutes and just grab a bite as they move before they'll settle down and actually eat. That's very interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
I think we need to rethink how long we keep them in stalls just eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the eating part is important, but they can't move around much in a stall.
Right. Right. And that's interesting. My brain gets stuck on things sometimes when I can't sleep. And the fancy European style walkers that they have now.
Yep.
You need to just put a hay net in the front of each section.
Yep.
Oh, that's so fun. That's smart.
They just walk along and munch as they go.
Which would be much more towards the natural biology of horses.
Yeah, and you're right, they do. They eat a couple of bites, they take a step. They eat a couple of bites, they take a step.
Yeah.
They eat a couple of bites, they walk 12 steps to a better patch of grass. Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot of wandering.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lots of wandering.
Yeah.
And it's like there's that ad for some arthritis medicine that says that you have to keep moving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the horses do that.
There you go.
And the other thing that really, it was coincidental, is I watched the BBC program Prehistoric Planet that's on Apple TV. It's a 4 or 5 part series about the Triassic period all over the world, all the different dinosaurs. And my gosh, although horses didn't descend from dinosaurs, the browsing dinosaurs walk, eat, walk, eat, walk, eat, walk, eat.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So now we're at Roundtable, and our discussion is what we have learned from taking care of senior animals. And I find that senior dogs and senior horses and senior kitties, they propose unique management challenges, as well as reminders of how we treat our more senior humans. There are a lot of parallels, I think. And I have learned as much from my older animals as I have from my puppies. It's just different. From the seniors, I have a greater appreciation of patience. Because they move slower, or they eat slower, or they're processing information slower, or things that didn't bother them now terrify them, especially horses. They, the horse that used to be really brave is like, oh no, I can't possibly go past that flapping saddle pad. And I think it's a real opportunity for us as the caretakers to learn from what they're showing us. And also be able to apply it to the older humans in our lives. Because we all know how frustrating it can be with an older parent or an older family member that doesn't hear well and doesn't have a hearing aid and has some health issues and doesn't remember things. And I try to relate that back to the animals, how they process the same kind of differences. They're not young ones anymore. And so navigating the world with the changes in their bodies in the aging process makes the world sometimes a scarier place. And I feel very blessed that we even have senior animals. Because they really offer us such an opportunity to learn and to change things up. I have a senior dog. His name is Kimasabi. And he used to have a voracious appetite. Well, now he kind of doesn't. And some days he eats well, and some days he doesn't. And I sort of can easily turn into a Jewish mother, flipping out. Oh my God, you didn't eat, and let me make you something else, or let me get you something else. And I'm really learning to let go of that, to just not make a judgment, but just observe. He's not throwing up, he doesn't have diarrhea, everything else is pretty normal. He just sometimes doesn't have much of an appetite or doesn't want, food that he normally likes. Now he likes something different. Okay, just go with the flow of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we stress about it and we project those stresses onto the animal. You have to help try to relate to the animal in the here and now that he's living in, or she's living in, because that's where they are. They're in the here and the now.
Yep.
And oh my goodness, he didn't eat well today. Okay, I'm stressed over that, but I have to be careful not to project my stress into what they're really demonstrating to me. Just not really hungry today. Maybe that's what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There have been times, recently where when Kimasabi goes on a walk with us, and he walks very slowly these days. So it's a very slow, leisurely. The young dogs run ahead and do their thing, and I stay back with him. And there are times when he's just walking along, and all four legs go out in four directions and just splat.
Oh wow!
And I look at him, and he's sort of sheepish, and then he just sort of manages to gather them all up again and get up. And it's kind of remarkable. Because it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
Onward we go. And when that happens, I think to myself, when I get to the point where my limbs are going out in 4 directions, I want to think about Sabi. And instead of complaining about it, which would be my choice, I'm going to think about how Sabi handled it and just go, okay, what the heck?
Yeah. Probably giggle a little bit.
Yeah. And you see, living in the moment a little bit more for us humans, that's something we can learn from them. Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
And Patty, you've had a number of older animals.
I have, and it's funny because I think, obviously the most recent one for me was Gavin, who was, they're all heart animals, but it's funny. I don't know that I have thought of a dog that has left us as much as I have him. And I'm not 100% sure why. I think it's just because he traveled all over. He was the last dog I had that all my kids were in the house with. And it was just such a part of the family. And I had a dream about him just the other night. But, for him, he started, he at a young age, and Tigger knows this because I called her in a panic. He had became epileptic, and it was recommended I put him on phenobarbital, which I think was a wise thing for me to do. So he had dealt with that, and he lived to a wonderful age of 15, and he had a great life, and he traveled everywhere. But, he went from being, he was a little border terrier. So he had just enough terrier in him, but was just, just a kid, he was the happiest dog. And I just wanted to make sure he stayed happy as he got older. And kind of like what you're saying, Tigger, I didn't end up taking him for walks anymore, but we would certainly go in the backyard and I would just sit on the ground with him because he couldn't hear and see as much, and the other dogs would fly by him. And so, but I began to realize such a difference in how my other dogs reacted to him as he started to decline. And I don't know if you're all big, and Gavin was small, and I have 2 Aussies and 2 French bulldogs that are like bricks. They're moving bricks. And I just became so much more aware of them not being aware of where he was and having to be very responsible for that. Just like you said, just, kind of paying attention to what they do every day. For me, the heart indicator, Gavin loved to eat. Oh, well, especially when he had been on the phenobarbital. They like to eat when they're on that. So when he wouldn't eat, I would just be, I would start to panic. But I think when you make them feel safe, they feel safe. And you just have to be willing to realize, it's hard with an older dog. Just their needs change and they ebb and they flow, just I'm sure like it will be with people. But it's amazing. It's amazing just listening to Sabi and hearing him get back up, just how incredibly agile they still are at such a young age. If you think about it, can you imagine going splat and then getting it together and going on and walking after that?
No,
I would, I'd just be like, I'm going to be right here, come back in like 3-4 years, just I'll be good. Yeah. That's amazing.
One thing that I think really extended my horse Lionheart's life, because he died at 33, was that he was living out in a herd, moving, eating. Yeah. And
I can't agree with you more.
Well, yeah, he had mental and physical stimulation of an appropriate level. Because, and that's the best kind of stimulation. What doesn't get any better than literally a herd, not just another horse here or there, but his own herd that didn't change, because as we know, when your herd changes, that's stressful.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And he had open spaces to wander about in at his leisure.
Yep.
But he also didn't have to stress about getting enough calories into his body because he had his humans around for that.
Yep.
So that, that is the best life for a senior human, horse, dog, cat, guinea pig, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
again, it's the movement.
Yeah.
And, I just want to, give a shout out to any of our listeners who have retired their horses and sent them to a retirement facility that is, comprised of groups that live out primarily. That's you are extending the life of your horse.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And with the dogs,
it a good life.
It's the same. They need to move around, even when they go splat.
Even when they go splat.
Hello.
Hetty.
Hello. Hello.
How are you today?
Thriving. And you?
Good. I have a question for you that I think that will be a good question to ask. Do you ever think about getting old?
Well, that's a sobering question at this moment. My sister, my nice sister, the real sister, is getting old, and I worry about her all the time because she's not herself. She sleeps a lot more, even more than me. And sometimes I worry that she's not going to wake up, and so I prod her until she does. And
which is good.
At night. Yeah, I just don't want her to, be dead. And then sometimes at night when the human servant is doing some weird thing with her teeth in the bathroom, I don't know. My sister will just go right to sleep, and then I don't know what to do because normally I would have played with my sister, but she's asleep. So what do I do now? So then I go and I batter the other sisters with my paws.
Which is good.
It's like displacement battering.
Mm-hmm.
But I do worry about my sister getting old. I'm not that worried about me because I am eternal.
Oh. Well, just wait till you get older.
Le deluge.
And what does that mean?
After me, the flood.
And there you have
Apocalypse. It's an apocalypse reference, just to catch up anyone who might be a little bit lost.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, there you have it.
Well, you've heard it from the podcast world's only talking Pomeranian. Yep. This is what it looks like to get old.
Now, don't do it.
It's eternal. It's eternity.
Exactly.
Thank you, Hedwig. Excellent recommendations. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
And now it's time for the breed of the show.
So we are at the breed of the show section of the program, and we're going to make it all about chickens. And we're going to do that because I am recently become quite interested. I have always been surrounded by many friends, Tigger being one of them, and my daughter, and have done backyard chickens for years, and they've loved it. And I just recently decided to take the plunge. I was seeing my daughter and her husband in Virginia a couple weeks ago, and they were incubating eggs, and I just became so enthralled with the whole thing. So I've been doing tons of research and, of course, asking anybody, that I know about it. And there's several ways to do this with getting chickens. And I'm going to just go through the process that I've been decided to do. You can get local, and I'm talking about we're going to do from chicks to, start from baby chicks and go from there. You can get chicks from your local feed store or Tractor Supply, or you can do what I've done. I wanted to get specific breeds that would be hatched out on a certain date, and then you actually get them sent to you in the mail, which I find fascinating that you get live chicks in the mail. But they're fine, but we'll get back to that. First and foremost, you have to make sure that you check the ordinances in your town or city, because there are tons of places that allow backyard chickens. But oddly enough, there are some areas that you think would allow them, that allow livestock, but don't actually allow chickens. For example, in my area, I'm allowed chickens, but they have to be 25 feet away from another property line or a neighbor. There's also, it's interesting. You also, which is weird because the people who owned my house beforehand had a Frisian stallion. Go figure. And they had goats, but chickens, I guess, because they're loud. But there's also sometimes there can be a limit on how many you can have, et cetera. So it's really easy to figure it out. You just go to your town and look up your ordinances. It saves you a lot of heartbreak if you've already purchased the chickens and are falling in love with them. So I cannot emphasize enough, everybody that I've talked to, the importance of securing your coop and run and making it as predator proof as possible. You just want to actually have everything ready before you even get your chickens or your hens if you're getting them older. I live in the part of the country where there are a lot of wildlife, just like you, Tigger. And actually, you can say that and live in a neighborhood and still have predators, but you have to ensure that the coop and the runs are very safe. So first and foremost, you want to keep predators out. Foxes, coyotes, and other critters will try to dig underneath the run. One way to prevent this is that you can either put down concrete that makes it hard for them to dig under, or even bury wire down up like 4 inches. In my part of the country, it's hard to do that because it's really dry here and it's like drilling into concrete. So we're going to put what they call an apron underneath it so they can't dig in.
So you're getting chickens.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Tiggs. I've named them all. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute.
You have them?
Not yet. I have. They'll hatch on the 21st, and they will be delivered to me like 2 days later. So I'm quite excited about this. Are you rolling your eyes? It's not a dog. I'm happy.
I have 18 chickens. Come on.
Okay. Well, good. Okay. So chime in on any of this, because this is just what I've gone by, what I'm doing. And I have to keep them. I'm not going to let my chickens loose when I'm not here because I'm gone too much during the day, and I live in large, like 2 to 3 acre lots, but there's too many predators. And that's why I want to emphasize on the chicken coop and how to keep it, protected. The one other thing that I've really learned in doing all of my research is there really is no such thing as chicken wire. Yes, there's chicken wire, but it's not chicken wires that keep chickens safe, because a fox can get through anything. I'm sure, Tigger, you know that.
Yes.
So you want to buy the proper fencing and look into it. It has to be something that's very close together, because those little skinny heinies can get through almost any area. They have something called a chicken net. Do you know what I'm talking about, Tigger? It's like
yes.
more of a,
yes.
Okay. It's you can get this online or go to your local feed store. Tractor Supply was really quite great about all of it. Then you go to your actual chicken coop. You have to make sure there's enough room in there. It all depends on how you want to do it. I have an old building that I'm going to convert over. But you have to make sure you have roosting bars and also laying boxes for your hens. A good rule of thumb is 1 nesting box for every 4 chickens. It's important that you don't let them get overcrowded. I went ahead and got 1 rooster. I've been told they're great for the flock and they can help protect them, which is a good thing. But you also are going to run the risk that they could fertilize some eggs. So you have to be prepared for more chicks if that happens. And if not, just make sure you're picking the eggs up because they can be sneaky. So on to what type of chickens. People often choose the hens by the color of their eggs. I personally was more interested in the size and the personality because they will be pets. All of my chickens are already named. I have not even met them yet. And the best thing to do is do your research. I went with a couple different Cochins, Brahmas, and Orpingtons, and I wanted to do a little fun one called a frizzle Easter egger. I think they actually make pretty colored eggs. So when I get my chicks, or if you get chicks from the store, you have to put them in what they call a brooder, which is where you'll keep them up to about 4 to 6 weeks old. Tigger, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And And it's just, I'm just going to do a little trunk. I'll put down some nice shavings in there. You have to have a good water source and also good food. Be very careful. Do a lot of research. Don't just put a bowl of water in there because the chicks can drown.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually, when I get them, I'm going to have to teach them how to drink. So you just take their little beak and dip it in there, which will be fun. And then you introduce them to the water, then you're good to go. They're pretty smart little boogers. And, I think initially they're a little bit shy and tentative, but as time goes on, they become a little bit more used to you, and you can start to play with them and name them. So one of the things that I'm going to do, and you also have to still be under a heat lamp of sorts. So wherever you decide to do this, some people like to do it in their garage. I personally have made my spare bedroom into my little chick room. And they're going to have a little heat lamp. But you want to make sure, in my case, obviously I have other animals some have been around chicks and chickens before, but not often. So you want to make sure that nothing can get in. And as they get older, they can't get out. So this great design. You just get a regular trunk that at Walmart or whatever, and the lids that you can pop on. You just cut out a large hole in the top of it. Get some not twist ties, but those little plastic things that you run through that. What are they called? I can't think of them, but they close it down and get a piece of tight wire so that they have plenty of ventilation, and you can have the heat lamp on them, and then you can just snap that onto the top. And you just want to make sure they stay nice and warm. I've seen anywhere from 88 to 100 degrees of where you should have them so that they stay good and warm. And you'll start to watch them grow. And as they get to a certain age, that's when you can introduce them into the coop. And that will be the next conversation we have, is what they do once they get into the coop. But so Tigger, are all of yours right now, are they free range?
Yes.
And so have you had any trouble? Do they go up in a barn at night? Where do they go?
They go into we have 2 coops, and Wookie herds them in.
That's adorable. Are you kidding? That's adorable. And so do you close them up at night?
Yeah, in the coop.
Okay, so you do close them up, because I know some people that just let them, roost up in their barn, and the horses love it. And but you obviously run the risk of having predators. So have you had problems with predators?
Oh yeah.
What's been your biggest problem?
Fox.
And what has been your easiest fix?
Our fox is very nice, only kills one at a time, and obviously takes it to feed its family, doesn't go in there and just kill all the birds.
That's nice.
So
okay, that's nice.
Our approach is, we're going to live side by side with wildlife. We're going to take some losses, and we're okay with that.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. My husband Peter is very excited about doing this because he loves, farm fresh eggs, and we love eggs. And but I keep telling him, I'm like, I can't even think about the thought of something happening to him. And he goes, okay, well, why don't you get a couple extra chickens?
I think he's got the right idea. Yep, get a couple extras.
I'm like,
yep.
Oh boy.
What we have found is we don't get baby chicks anymore. Now we do have a hen that is sitting, so we may have some babies, but we get pullets at the Tractor Supply poultry swap.
Oh, cool.
And the farmers just come in on a Saturday and they bring their pullets. And so we've got, pullets that are a month or so from laying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we have replenished our flock. We don't do baby chicks anymore. And we have one very ancient hen. Talk about senior citizen. She's almost 10 years old.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That's a tough old bird, literally.
Literally.
See, the fox doesn't want her anymore. He takes one look at that one and goes, nope.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, and I will tell you, there are so many Facebook pages and so many websites that just give you really wonderful information about it. But there's a whole Facebook page that's just dedicated to, backyard chickens in rural areas. Like, oddly enough, Fort Worth, the town of Fort Worth, you're allowed to have backyard chickens, which just cracks me up. I don't know if you can have a rooster, and some are very specific, whether you can have a rooster or not have a rooster or whatever. But there's just lots of really great information. And I think that the biggest thing is, and I'm Tigger, I know you know this, is that they're very smart and they make great pets. My daughter Hannah got into them 3 years ago. I didn't realize that her husband had a big chicken thing, and they have a little Cluckingham Palace in their backyard, and they come to her when she calls them. It's the cutest thing I've ever seen. And so I don't know, my next thing after I do this and I feel situated with this, I'd like to incubate a couple eggs, because that whole process was just neat to do. And I just think I think it's going to be a fun, exciting journey. And I just can't wait to get them. I can't wait.
Stay tuned for the next installment, people.
And now we're at Critter Nutrition, and we're going to give you an overview of the gut-brain connection in equines. I've written quite a long, involved article, which you can get from our show notes or by going to Biostar US website and look for our blog posts, and it's up there. It's called What You Need to Know About Your Horse's Gut-Brain Connection. The gut-brain axis is complex, and there is so much we don't yet know about the intricate world of the gut microbiome. In Ayurvedic and traditional Chinese medicine, it's recognized that body systems are interconnected. An imbalance in the gut, for instance, will affect the brain, liver, kidneys, adrenals, and central nervous system. Western allopathic medicine has focused more on the symptoms and treatments of a specific body system that is out of balance. But as Eastern medicine has become more integrative with Western medicine, researchers are now recognizing the connection among internal biological systems. Understanding the gut-brain connection is very important when addressing horse health. We can't fundamentally address behavior issues, poor performance, and anxiety in horses if we don't address the gut. While neurotransmitters such as norepinephrine and epinephrine are produced in the adrenal glands, nerve tissues, and brain, gut bacteria in the GI tract are able to stimulate and even generate the productions of neurotransmitters, including GABA and norepinephrine. Serotonin, for instance, binds to specific receptors in the GI tract. It is estimated that 90% of the body's serotonin is made in the digestive tract. Researchers have discovered that the cells that produce serotonin in the gut depend on microbes to make it. According to research done at Caltech, the specific bacteria to make serotonin are spore-producing bacteria, such as the soil-based organisms in Biostar's Symbiota and the store-producing bacteria Bacillus subtilis in Biostar's HedroGI. Serotonin dysfunction in horses is caused by imbalances in the gut microbiome and will affect brain functions such as mood, behavior, sleep, as well as immune modulation. Dopamine binds to GI tract receptors specifically in the mucosal layer and nerve endings of the intestinal wall. 50% of dopamine production occurs in the gut. GABA is the principal inhibitory neurotransmitter in the central nervous system. It blocks certain nerve signals in the brain to reduce fear, anxiety, and stress. The colonies of beneficial microbiota in the gut are sensitive to stress, lack of sleep, chronic or acute exposure to chemicals, life stress, diet, or medications can shift the microbial diversity, causing dysbiosis. Stress has a profound effect on the gastrointestinal tract, impacting gut motility, barrier functions, mucosal protection, and inflammation. Neurotransmitters responding to the stress can shift the microbial patterns in the gut, which can influence neural activity and affect behavior and mood. The horse community has approached anxiety and reactivity in horses with calming supplements that target certain brain neurotransmitters. Many calming supplements provide neurotransmitter-affecting ingredients such as tryptophan, B1, inositol, taurine, theanine, glycine, and valerian root. While these ingredients may be helpful for calming horses, we can't fundamentally address behavior issues, poor performance, and anxiety in horses if we don't address the gut. For instance, calming supplements that don't address the gut and its bi-directional communication paths with the brain are missing the importance of serotonin production. Calming supplements that don't address the cortisol produced by the adrenal gland during periods of stress are also neglecting that two-way relationship and missing an even larger gut-strain-brain triad or axis of communication that's essential for understanding our horses and their health needs. Recent research published in Nature in 2020 on gut microbiota has highlighted different stressors in horses, the stress of training and competing, and how it impacts the gut microbiota. According to these findings, stress activates neurons' release of norepinephrine and other neurotransmitters in the GI tract. Norepinephrine has been shown to promote the growth of pathological organisms, including Bordetella, Listeria, and Salmonella. One way that norepinephrine promotes the overgrowth of pathogens is by facilitating E. coli adherence to the intestinal wall. Observations based on fecal samples taken over an 8-month period indicated that behavior was linked to gut microbiota. Horses stabled on straw with its natural complement of microorganisms benefited in gut health compared to horses on non-straw bedding. A healthy horse gut is like healthy soil. It nourishes and supports the host. When you plant a garden, you need healthy soil for the plants to thrive. The soil nourishes and supports the plants. If the soil in your garden is not healthy, you probably add micronutrients and fertilizer like manure to improve the soil and ensure the health of the plants. Fertilizers feed the entire complex community of soil organism, the soil food web, which includes the bacteria and fungi most important to plant growth. The practice of spreading manure on pastures results in feeding the soil food web, which then feeds the grasses for a healthier pasture. If the equine gut ecosystem is not healthy, we need to feed it by supporting the microbial community of bacteria, just like we do with soil. Remember, too, that organism diversity within these ecosystems is essential. Just as lack of biodiversity of the soil food web contributes to unhealthy soil, lack of biodiversity in the horse's gastrointestinal microbiota leads to an unhealthy gut. As you can see, the body is an organism of tremendous interconnectivity and communication. In many ways, the body is a mirror for the complexity of other systems in nature, such as the soil food web. In that system, we are just beginning to recognize and understand the layers of communication and community that exist among plants and trees. Very similarly, we are finally scratching the surface of the gut-brain web and other body systems of deep complexity and interconnection. In short, understanding health and well-being means understanding a core principle. Everything is connected.
Real horses and real dogs are healthier, perform better, and recover more quickly on real food. That's why Biostar empowers horse and canine owners with 100% whole food nutrition, supplements, and feeding programs. Biostar products are made at their own certified non-GMO facility in Gordonsville, Virginia, using real fruit ingredients that are raw, freeze-dried, or dehydrated, never cooked, and are free from artificial flavors, colors, soy, corn, wheat, and molasses. The Biostar product line includes a wide range of whole food, horse and dog supplements, treats, and unique artisan poultices that embrace the ancient and traditional uses of clay and plants. Visit biostarus.com today and learn about whole foods and canine and equine nutrition so you can make the best decisions about the care and health of your horses and dogs. That's biostarus.com. Whole food nutrition the way nature intended.
Well, we're doing a little substitute from Coffee Klatch, and because I have fallen in love with a book. And it's called Remarkably Bright Creatures. It's written by Shelby Van Pelt. This is her first novel. And it's about an octopus in an aquarium in the state of Washington. And part of it is written from the octopus's point of view. And this is a very intelligent octopus, and he likes to escape because he gets tired of being fed the same old herring. So he's figured out a way to wiggle out of his tank at night, and he goes and gets into other tanks of other sea creatures and eats them. And then he finds that the kitchen for the staff, and he discovers Chinese food. What is so wonderful about this book is not just the octopus, but the humans that he interacts with and that form some kind of a relationship with him, and how he impacts their lives. And they are very interesting humans. They're not perfect humans. They have multiple flaws. One of the main characters is actually in her 70s, and she's feeling the need to move to an assisted living place. And I found that very intriguing because so many novels are really about younger people. And I really like the fact that, and there are young people characters in this book, but one of these main characters is dealing with some real senior issues that some of us, like myself, are looking at that's closer than what's in the rearview mirror. It's so well written. There are times when you just chuckle. And what I like about her writing is that it's not flowery. There's no extemporaneous language. She uses language to describe things in simplicity. So it's an easy read, and it's the kind of read that you just want to read slowly because it reads so well and you don't want it to end. I kind of got interested in octopuses watching the documentary, My Octopus Teacher. If you haven't seen it, I think it's still on Netflix. It's a true story of an Australian who has a relationship with a wild octopus. And that gave me the clue that, wow, these creatures are really special. They used to kind of scare me, but after watching My Octopus Teacher, now I have a totally different view of them. And now reading Remarkably Bright Creatures, I'm like, I definitely would like to be friends with an octopus. So I'm recommending it. She's a first-time author, and it's just an absolutely wonderful book.
That sounds really cool.
It's so good, Patty, and it's an easy read. You know, she uses language very simply, and her characters are just you know them all. You have run into them in your life.
Yeah, it sounds really cool.
I bet you can get it on audiobook.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're an audiobook person, but
I am actually. I was just looking up on my Kindle. What's the title again?
Remarkably Bright Creatures.
That won't show that. You think my thing was
okay? Now I'm reading about him being stuck under the cords. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen next?
Have you already started reading it?
Well, they have a preview on Amazon.
Ah, yeah, it's scary. He has 18 minutes to get out of the tank, get his food, and get back in.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks to our sponsor, Biostar US. You can find them online at biostarus.com.
Get the Horse Radio Network phone app on iOS or Android by searching for Horse Radio Network in the App Store. It's free and easy to use.
For details about today's show, go to healthycrittersradio.com, where you can find links, photos, and more information about our guests.
As always, we love your feedback. Please follow us on Facebook under Healthy Critters Radio.
Be sure to visit all the great shows on Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.